Hello, welcome back to the fourth part of the tutorial for the drop sweater winter wine. So in our last session we changed to 5mm needles, and we also put in the markers to do the increases for the raglan. So this time we're actually going to do the raglan sleeves. So we're going to just knit, because as we're going in the round then that will make up our stocking stitch. So every round is knitting, but we're going to do some increases just where these markers are on this round. So we will do an increase round and then we will do a plain knit round. For this round we're going to knit up to 4 stitches before the marker. I did put my yarn in the freezer to see if it will stop shedding as much, so we shall see if it does. I'm not wearing black today, so I probably won't notice as much. But I'll come 4 stitches before the marker, and then we're going to knit into the front of the stitch. Instead of sliding that stitch off, we're going to push our needle into the back of the stitch, and we're going to knit it at the back as well and then pull the stitch off. So from 1 stitch we've created 2, so that's our increase of 1 stitch, and we need to do that again. So we're going to go in the front, take the yarn around as if to do a normal knit stitch, keep that stitch on that needle, go round to the back, put your needle in the back, do the stitch, and this time pull it off. So you've increased 2 stitches on that side, and then we're going to knit the next 2 stitches and then pass that marker over and then knit the next 2 stitches. So that means we have 4 stitches now that are just plain knitting, and then we're going to increase into the next 2. So we're going to go in the front, go round to the back, knit the back, come up, go into the front of the next one, round, and then knit into the back and up. So now we've got our 2 stitches that we just knit, and then 4 stitches that are the 2 stitches that have got the increases in. So then we'll carry on knitting around to the next marker. So if you remember, our starting point is at the centre back. So we've knit up to the start of the sleeve. So now we're knitting across the sleeve at this point. And once again we're going to be 4 stitches, oh, gone too far. 4 stitches before the marker. And then we're going to increase into the first one. So in the front, swing it round, into the back, take the stitch off, into the front, take the yarn round, leave the stitch on, swing it to the back, knit the back, take it off. And then we've got 2 stitches left, so we're going to knit those 2. Take the marker across, knit the next 2. So it's always the 2 stitches closest to the marker are the plain knit ones, and then the next ones out are the increases. So we're going to knit into the front and then knit into the back, knit into the front and knit into the back, and then carry on, just knit stitch to the other side. When you come to 4 stitches before the next marker, we're going to increase into the next 2, so forward and then back, forward and then into the back, and then knit the 2 stitches closest to the marker, pass that one over, knit the next 2, so the 2 closest to the marker, and then increase in the next 2, so it's in the front, then in the back, in the front, then in the back, and then carry on knitting to the next marker. Then just stop when you get to 4 stitches before once again, so we're going to knit into the front, knit into the back, knit into the front, knit into the back, knit the next 2, pass that marker over, knit the next 2, and we're going to knit into the front, knit into the back, knit into the front, knit into the back, and go up to the next marker. And this time this is going to be your end of row marker, so you will go right up to the marker on this one. There's my little angel. Hopefully she's going to help me not make any mistakes. Little guardian angel watching over my knitting. So there she is. I'll just do an extra one to hold her on. Okay, so that is the whole round. So the next round is just a plain knit round. We got to repeat this round, but we have to do different numbers depending on what size. So if you take a look at your pattern, we are here, so we're increasing 2 stitches on each side of every marker on every other round, and we need to do this because I'm doing the second size. I'm doing this 3 times, so please check which one you're going to be doing. So we've gone round once, we then have to do a plain knit round, and then we have to go do those, repeat those 2 more times for me. So I will do, in total, I've just done my increase round, so then I have to do a plain round, increase round, plain round, increase round, plain round. So in total it says 3, so I need to do 6 actual rows to complete this part. So if you stop the video now and carry on with that, how many repeats, and then we will come back to do the next section. Welcome back. So you should have finished your repeats for the 2 increases each side of the markers. So now we're going to move on to the next section, and in this section we're going to do exactly the same, but we're going to do just 1 increase into each part instead of 2. So I shall start that for you. So if you take a look first at your pattern, and it will say to do the increase of 1 stitch each side of the marker, and it's every other row again. So we're going to do an increase row and then just a plain knit row, and I have got to repeat this 18 times, so that means I'm actually going to be doing 36 rows. Quick bit of calculation. So I should be marking off down the sides. I do recommend that you mark your pattern what size, and also to actually take a note of what row you're on at the time, because it's hard to keep track. We get interrupted, the phone calls, children, or different things. So especially when you're going to do 36 rows, you need to know exactly where you are. So if you have to put your knitting down, when you pick it up, you know what row you're on, because otherwise it might be hard to see, especially if you are using this yarn, because it is quite fluffy, those increases are quite invisible there, so that is why it's best to keep an eye on it. So we're going to do that. It also gives you a tally at the end of how many stitches you should have, so we're going to go into that now. On the instructions it does give another increase method for this round. I'm going to carry on with the same increase method because they're using a loop method where you put the yarn forward, and then when you knit it actually creates a stitch, but then you have to twist it to make, because that's basically a yarn over that we use as a decorative hole, so you have to twist it when you knit it to make sure it closes up basically, which I don't think is as neat as the knitting forward and back, so I'm going to carry on doing the knitting forward and back. I will see if there's a video that I can link for you, so if you wanted to try the other method you can, but to keep it simplified I'm going to do this method on here, but I will look for a link, so if you wanted to try the way the pattern says and see what it looks like, especially if your yarn isn't as fluffy as mine, you will see your increases more. But I just think this method is just neater, really, neater finish. I'm sure they had their reasons why they want to choose that. So we all have our preferences. It doesn't mean anything's right or wrong. It's just preferences of what we prefer. So moving on to this round then. So we're going to knit up to the marker. So this time we're going to do one increase. So we're going to knit to 3 stitches before the marker. So when you have your 3 stitches before the marker, we're just going to do an increase into the first one, just like we did before, forward and back. And then we have our 2 stitches the same because we're following the line, so that pattern carries on. Even though we're changing how many increases we do, it will still flow nicely. So then we're just going to knit 2, pass that marker over, knit 2 again to repeat how we were doing it, and then knit forward and in the back, and carry on knitting to the next marker. So you're going to go up to 3 spaces, well 3 stitches before the marker once again. So I have my 3 stitches there, so I'm just going to increase into the first one, forward and back, knit the next 2, slip that marker over, knit 2 more, and then increase into the next one, and then carry on knitting to 3 before the marker. So I'm going to leave it there because it's going to be just repeating what we've already seen. So if you carry on until you do all the repeats you need to do, so just remember you're doing an increase row and then you're doing a plain knit row, so 2 to make up the number you need. And if you check once you've finished doing how many repeats you need to do, if you check to make sure your stitch count is correct, and then you can also check to make sure your piece is measuring from the shoulder to make sure that it's actually in the right length for you as well. I'm definitely going to be checking this because when I did my gauge it was the actual rows that was out slightly, so I'm going to be interested to see how I'm getting on with the actual length now it's knitting up. So after that I shall meet you back here and we shall move on to the next part. So thank you for joining me. Please leave any comments, any questions you have down below, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So take care, enjoy your knitting, and I shall see you again very soon. Bye for now.